Warriors. How are you guys? Oh my goodness, it's been a while, hasn't it? I did a yoga video last night after unexpectedly taking like a week off. And look, my R2D2 is here. Hey, did you hear that Han Solo made a pitch for the Democratic Party? Thought that was cool. Fred Field, yo también. Nice. So now that I have my glasses clean, hi, I'm here, even though I won't be 100% today. You know, we all just do what we can, huh? How are you guys? Are you feeling it? I've been super stressed. I'll admit it. You know how I am. I always like to be very frank and candid with you guys. So, yeah, I was so stressed out today. I thought I wasn't as stressed out as I had been. There was like this like sense of calm all day, and then I threw up because that's kind of like my stress barometer. So yep, I threw up, and now I feel fine. No, I'm just kidding. No, I do. I feel pretty confident that everything's going to be all right, one way or the other. But I feel pretty confident that it's going to go a good direction. And if it doesn't, so be it. Moving on with the show. Turn the page, move out of the country. I'm serious. Feeling the pressure. Yeah, you know, I mean, I love my country, but if it's not going to be like my country, then there's no reason to be here. You know, if it's like Nazi Germany, no thank you. So yeah, I thought about doing a hot take instead of doing a live just after it being like an entire week. I'm like, have I ever even gone a week without doing a live? I don't know. But, you know, we've had Coco, who is doing fantastic, by the way, our dog that had the cancer surgery. She gets her stitches out, the end of this week? So by then, maybe we'll know the actual results of the polls today. Although I think we'll have a pretty good idea this evening, maybe like 8 o'clock. I don't know. I was even thinking instead of coming on today, I was thinking maybe I should just like save it for tonight when we might know. But we might not ever know, right? I mean, it's all just a bunch of artificial intelligence, deep fake, right? Fred Field says, move fast. Those against will have to be punished, he says. LOL. Exactly, Fred. No, I already have a plan. I do. I figured if I didn't have a plan, I'd be screwed. And if I had a plan, then I might not need it. Yeah, and it's not so much that I'm against anything. I'm just, you know, not for all the crazy. I mean, you know how hard I've tried to stay away from the politics. And over the last week, I was thinking, okay, when my channel starts back up, I'm just going to make it a political channel. That's all there is to it. But let me just go ahead and say everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. But can I just be like blunt? Who the F blows a damn podium mic? He did it more than once, you guys. Do you know this? He did it again yesterday. Need I say more? It's like he's trying to lose. I think he's sort of like the cat that, you know, falls off the fence and then is like, oh yeah, I did that on purpose. So that's what he's doing. He's trying to set it up so he can be like, oh, obviously I was trying to lose. Who blows the mic twice? It's funny, except that it's so frightening. Like, I mean, it's a joke that it's even a remote possibility, in my humble opinion. Anyway, do I have my sign? I do. Give me a sign. Tranquility now. No, this sign, the other sign. Please make sure you're still subscribed. So I haven't really shared much with you guys about the political channels that I've been watching these last few weeks, and I will share them. But I've noticed myself getting unsubscribed to them. Isn't that cute? Share a video of mine if you feel like it, and turn on your notification bell to ring. And I'm just really happy to be here with you guys. It's been hard. It's been hard just trying to not freak out and start packing. Honestly. And thinking about people that I care about that are on the other side, and it's just like, it's never been like this. It's never been like taking sides. It's like, it's weird. It's just weird. And honestly, for anybody who's still thinking that that's a way to go, I just can't. I've hit my limit. I've maxed out. So yeah, I still care about people that are like that. And, I just have to put it out of my mind. I figure someday they'll come around. And yeah, if I have to be a hard ass, I'll have to be a hard ass, because I don't need to explain. So some of the best news channels, seriously, it's like The Daily Show, Trevor Noah, Jon Stewart, the other guys, like, they're all good. Seth Meyers, Jimmy Kimmel has been killing it. These comedians are so helpful to me. They're like therapy, just like you guys are. So thanks so much for being here. Thank you for supporting my channel. Don't forget to hit the like button. I moved my button all the way over here. You'll never find it. Please hit that thumb. It's funny, when I'm watching the videos that I watch, I told you guys, I always forget to hit the thumb. That's why I'm always reminding you guys, because I know that I always need to be reminded. So, let's see. What in the world? I think my phone has been messing up. It's been weird. Maybe it's something to do with, electronics, artificial intelligence. Wasn't it yesterday that Elon Musk, or today, you guys, Elon Musk was doing a thing and he was having technical difficulties, and he was like, yeah, thanks people, but I'll see you online. Seriously? How do we even keep up with the effery? I mean, I've never been a fan of Musk. I've never had much thought and feeling about him one way or the other until I saw those effing cyborg cars. Then I'm just like, dude, get a hold of yourself. Like, okay, not the kind of space capsule I want to be riding in. Thanks anyway. I mean, it's just so warlike. It's so freaky. Like, that's what he's going for. So, yesterday, I think it was, the judge in the Pennsylvania case against Elon for the illegal lottery, giving away millions of dollars for people to register or some crap like that. The judge ruled that it's all right. He's Elon. He can do whatever he wants. Because, yeah, if you have enough money, you can pretty much do whatever you want. That's the way it's always been. That's the way it always will be. Except for potentially, if at the end of the day or the end of this election cycle, things go a certain way, someone, I won't say who, could land himself in a jail cell, correct? And he's old. He's nowhere near 80. Nowhere near 80. He's only like 78 and a half. Not even close to 80. My goodness. So yeah, if he goes to jail, it's going to be rough on him. It's a rough place to be, and how terrible to go from living in the lap of luxury from the moment that you're born until you're 78 and a half, and then maybe landing in a gold-plated jail cell. Anyway, I didn't come on here to do a hate fest over the angry orange guy, as I call him. But okay, so some of my favorite political channels that I've newly discovered. There's one channel in particular that's huge. It's called the Midas Touch. And it's just like my band AJR. It's three brothers. I can't remember all their names. I think one is named Adam and one is named Ryan. I know one is named Ben. The big brother is named Ben, the headmaster. And then they have a conglomerate of people. They do a really good job. They have more viewers than the mainstream media channels, you guys. They're killing it. So the Midas Touch is one of my favorites. I really like these three young men. I almost called them boys. They're like 21 years old. Adam Mockler. Let's see if I can remember them all. Luke Beasley, Jack Conchicella. And let me give you a warning if you look them up. I'll put links to all of them, of course, in the description. But Jack Conchicella got kicked out of a university for alleged complaints about being a perv, basically. And I'm just going to guess that that was a smear campaign against him. So Adam Mockler, Luke Beasley, Jack Conchicilla. I have no idea how to say the name. You know how I am. I always hack them up. They're all 21. One of them is a musician. I want to say Luke Beasley is a musician. I think they're all in college. Maybe not. But they're all doing a phenomenal job. Oh, there's this other guy who I really like. I might have mentioned him recently. Boston Brian. He's hilarious with the thick Boston accent that I love. So yeah, let's talk some cases. Let's get into some true crime. We're already 10, 12 minutes in. So bring out Boston Brian right away. I thought of Sandra Birchmore and that sad situation. Like, what a devastating situation. So now, finally, after 2.5 years, her alleged suspected Red Rummer has been arrested a few months ago, at the end of August. The cop, Matthew Farwell, and God forbid if he doesn't get charged. I mean, you can't count your chickens before they hatch. Like, even in this election, I think we all need to be very careful. You just never know. You never know. And as soon as I like that Grateful Dead lyric, when life looks like easy street, there's danger at your door. Always expect the unexpected, right? So, yeah. The law enforcement douchebag dudes unaliving their girlfriends and their wives and their side things. How many have had that fate that have gone unnoticed, right? Thankfully for Sandra Birchmore, her case got reopened. But people that knew her knew right away that shit didn't add up. And it's just so sad. And it's so crazy how, even with YouTube true crime, how some of these content creators will just go with the status quo. Well, this is what the police report says, so therefore it must be true. Like, okay, well, look at her case as a good example. Yeah, the police report said that she hung herself with her gym bag, duffel bag strap from her closet doorknob. It's always from these like low things. Like, I guess because it's hard to lift a person that's not alive. That's hard. So like big tough guy, Matthew Farwell, who's like 6'4" and probably 300 pounds, couldn't lift his tiny little girlfriend, 4'11" maybe. to make it look more plausible. I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad that it was really obvious. Hey, Tammy Lynn, I'm talking about Sandra Birchmore, that 23-year-old school teacher that was taken out by her boyfriend in Canton, Massachusetts, February 1st, 2021, right at the start of a snowstorm. So you always got to be suspicious too when these things happen at the beginning of a snowstorm. That's kind of like a signature mobster kind of thing, because then they know that people are going to have trouble getting around, just like the other case in the same area of Canton, Massachusetts, and Stoughton, Massachusetts, with Brian O'Keefe. Or no, did I say it right? Karen Read. Yeah, Brian O'Keefe is the cop that the Karen Read trial. You guys know that trial is going to restart. It's scheduled for February. We'll see. We shall see. But yeah, the people that do these evil deeds and then get away with it. So let's talk about Kiely Rodni, because we know some evil deeds were done by some evil people, and so far they've gotten away with it. And when you look at the 33.4 or $33.8 billion of government contracts that Scammy Smith's mommy and daddy have for the decade of 2020 to 2030, that's more money in government contracts than Elon Musk has, you guys. Money talks, right? So we've talked about the possibility that maybe the 25 years of litigation with Kiely Rodni's granddad and Scammy's parents representing the government, that lawsuit litigation that had been going on for 25 years at the time of Kiely's passing, that maybe that wasn't as adversarial as it looks like on the surface, that maybe that was done intentionally to keep business rolling. And maybe Kiely's granddad, this is just a theory, felt or even still feels entitled to some kind of cut of that nearly $34 billion. I don't know. I do not know. But I know for a fact that girl did not do what it says she did on the official documentation. So there's a perfect example of, you can't trust just because it's official documentation. If you've got corruption, it's meaningless. It's absolutely meaningless. So there's a lot of corruption getting purged out. And it's hard to have a government system that doesn't have corruption. But there's degrees of corruption, and you just got to do what you can to battle it out, to weed it out, right? So I also wanted to talk about Amanda Knox and Meredith Kercher, the Foxy Knoxy, the case from 2007 from Italy with the college girls. So Meredith Kercher was the victim. Amanda Knox was charged with SA and unaliving twice, and then it was overturned twice for her and for her boyfriend, Raffaella Scolito, or however you say his last name. And then Rudy Goudet was also charged. So the three of them were all charged. Rudy Goudet served his nearly 20-year sentence and was released a couple of years ago, whereas Amanda and Raffaella were both charged, overturned, and then found guilty again and then overturned again. And it just kills me. Yeah, no pun intended. It just crushes me for Meredith's family. Absolutely. Like, where's the justice? And then Amanda Knox got a multi-million-dollar book contract, and then she's built an entire career off of Meredith's blood. And then, here, let me highlight what else? Sorry. It's always good to get into the habit of highlighting the messages. Wait, what? Sorry, this is so stupid. So when you highlight a message, right below pin messages report. So if your finger slips, that's what happened. But no, I didn't report anybody. Then you can hit cancel. Anyway, stupid design. So where was I jumping around to and from? The Meredith Kercher case. I have so much respect for True Crime Rocket Science. Nick, who is the content creator on that channel, he has studied that case inside out. And he's recently been putting out a lot of videos that are extremely concise and sharp, and I really want to encourage people to pay attention. It's sort of like with Watts, the obsession, and her focusing on the incomplete justice with Shanann and her kids, that yeah, Chris Watts is where he needs to be, but who else was involved? So Rudy Goudet, he was probably guilty of what he was charged with, but most likely the other two were guilty of what they were charged with and overturned, and then convicted of a second time, and then overturned a second time. It wasn't until just a couple months ago that I realized, and I shared it with you guys right away, that so yeah, now I'm talking about Meredith Kercher. So Rafaela Solicito, Amanda Knox's boyfriend, finding out that his family was connected, you know, kind of like the Tony Soprano kind of connections over there in Italy. I knew they had money. I knew that his dad was a doctor or something, and he was studying information technologies, which, you know, back then in 2007, it wasn't as common as it is now. I mean, it was getting pretty common, but I also didn't realize that Amanda Knox had an uncle in Germany who owned his own law firm, and that she had actually been scheduled to do an internship there that summer right before all this happened. And one of the reasons why I'm talking about it, and one of the reasons why Nick at True Crime Rocket Science is pumping out some videos about it, is because the anniversary just happened. So 17 years, November 1st, November 2nd, you know, the Day of the Dead. That was the holiday that they celebrated there in, how do you say the name of the Italian town? Paraguay? Perugia? I think it's Paraguay. Anyway, if anybody wants to help me out, I hope justice prevails. I know it breaks my heart for the Kercher family. Her sister's very outspoken and articulate. Her father and her mother, I hope they haven't passed away yet. I'm thinking that maybe one of them has, but I hope they can see some justice for Meredith before they pass away. And, you know, Amanda put her own case back in the news this last summer with trying to get the slander conviction thrown out, overturned, for when she threw Patrick Mumba, I think is how you say his last name. Patrick Mumba was her boss, who owned La Chic, the bar that she worked at, and he was pretty much firing her because she was such a lame employee. At the same time, he was trying to hire Meredith because Meredith was so awesome. And he was also black, like Rudy. So Amanda had him locked up for a couple of weeks, and it was all a farce. And she's never apologized. And, you know, he got released, he got his life back, but it really messed him up. Hey, Sherry, hello. How are you doing? Have you voted yet? I voted like a week and a half ago. I told you guys when I voted. Anyway, so when Amanda tried to get that thrown out, that was good because it brought it back into the spotlight. It brought it back to front and center to get the attention that it deserves, for people to focus on what she did, the crimes she committed, because she committed a lot of crimes and they didn't have all the information that they have now. Even the second time they charged her and tried her and convicted her, and then subsequently overturned it. One of the things that they didn't have is that videotape surveillance camera footage from down the street of her walking that night right around the time that it happened, because ultimately her alibi was that she wasn't there, even though her first story was that she was there and that she was in the other room when it happened and she could hear it happening, and she was like hitting herself on the ears, and she was doing that at the police station, and then she said that that's what she was doing while it was happening. So her first story was she put herself there, and she just kept changing her story. Same with Raphael, he kept changing his story too. But what is so freaking obvious to me, and one of the things that Nick focuses on in these most recent videos that he's been doing, is the rug factor. That some rugs were admitted to, you know, like weed was admitted to right up front, but there was the Coca-Cola type of rug allegedly happening too. And then with it being Halloween, I mean, anybody who partied in college knows that Halloween was like the license to party, right? Like off the rails. And very likely, I would venture to guess hallucinogens were probably involved. That's just speculation. That's just a guess. But the concoction too, when you mix these things, it gets crazy. Just like they told you in junior high school science class, don't mix rugs, especially don't mix rugs and alcohol. There's a reason for that. So anyway, I am trying to kind of distract myself from the election by talking about the cases, you know, trying to find that healthy balance of just not freaking out and panicking. But as I bring up rugs and alcohol, have you guys seen the latest pitch from the brilliant brain of JD Vance, where he like shows a regular 6-pack of Pabst Blue Ribbon beer and says, you know, this is a 6-pack when you have Kamala for president. And then he shows these beers like as tall as a house, 6-pack. And he's like, and this is the beer that you have, or this is what it's like if you have Trump for president. And it's just like, okay, I think that was today, maybe yesterday, but it was like the day before that, there was somebody from that camp that, you know, the Republican, I mean, they're not even Republicans, complaining that the Barbie movie ruined our society, and that men weren't going to vote because of the Barbie movie, and that if Trump loses, it's the Barbie movie's fault. And then could they be more ridiculous with their brewski brews, with their giant house size brewski brews. I mean, that to me was the best punchline from that entire movie. That, and I mentioned this in the last couple of weeks, that and what's Ken good at? Ken's good at beach, right? Which, you know, kind of reminds me of JD Vance. He's kind of a male bimbo. Sammy must have a 24/7 license to party, LOL. 1,000%, Fred. 1,000%. Well, yeah, when your parents are as loaded as Elon Musk and you're 18 years old and you're graduating high school, you're moving off to college. So you're going from being a big fish in a small pond to being a tiny fish in a big pond. And that must have been freaking her out. So then when she went off to UC Irvine on the heels of this high profile thing where she took center stage, and then she had her little social media and she was making her little videos with her friends at college, she probably thought she was the hottest thing in the world with, you know, how many likes and how many views she would get. And she was probably making money because, you know, Scammy, she was all about the money makings, always about the money makings, because your parents having $34 billion worth of government contracts over the course of a decade just isn't enough, right? Never enough. Okay. So, can I just say it? Can I just get straight to the point? The cartoonishness of some of these people, not just JD Vance, but and I'm not trying to be mean, not trying to be mean at all. These people are freaking rude. Carlson Tucker, Matt Gaetz, Rudy Giuliani, RFK Jr., Don Jr. Could they look any more cartoonish? And then the Angry Orange with his like skin turning brown the last few days. Like he was already as orange can be, but then it was like the day he put on that bright orange Halloween costume. I mean, garbage man vest. All those things were like Halloween costumes. The freaking French fry thing, garbage man. Wasn't there another one? Wasn't there a third silly, goofy thing? That red tie that like comes down to his Arnold Palmer, covers the Arnold Palmer. That's going to be like the new name for it, right? Instead of like the Johnson, it's the Arnie Palmer. Ugh. So freaking crazy. Like these guys and their cartoonish, villainous, everything about them. Have you guys seen this thing where Carlson Tucker believes he was mauled by a demon in his own bed while sleeping one night? Have you guys seen it? Because I saw it on this channel. I think the channel's called Bulwark, BULWARK. Again, I'll put the link to this. And I thought it was just kind of this random thing that this one guy was talking about, this story that Carlson Tucker is telling about how a demon attacked him in his sleep. And, you know, I mean, I've seen The Exorcist. Most of us have, right? You kind of think anything's possible. And also people sometimes make shit up or think things are one thing when it's really something else, like really obvious. So the really obvious thing with his story of being attacked in his sleep by a demon. So he was asleep in his own bed at home with his wife and their 4 dogs. And these aren't little Mookie sized dogs. These are like Coco sized dogs. So even if they have a king size bed, which I'm going to assume that they do, with 4 dogs and 2 people, And oh, he had scratches under his arms and like one on his shoulder. He was bleeding. So that was like all the proof he needed that he was attacked by a demon. And common sense tells me there's a remote possibility, an outside chance that it could have been a dog that scratched him. I don't know. Not trying to like, lay blame on the dogs, but dogs have claws and there were 4 of them and each of them has 4 paws. So what, you got 16 claws in a bed with 2 people, and then one of them wakes up with some bloody scrapes. I don't know, might be the dogs. You might want to swab under their fingernails, right? Their paw nails. But all I could think is like he must have been freaking blacked out drunk. It's the only thing that would make sense. And then it was such a blackout, he wakes up thinking he was attacked by a demon. And, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to make fun of him. In reality, I do think that drinking and other substances, even though I've been sober for a long time, I've messed around with that stuff. I do think it can be cathartic at times. It can be like an exorcism. Sometimes it can be like what you need to see things clearly, right? I mean, how many adults haven't had that experience where, a good night out at the bar kind of got you to understand what you needed to do in your life, like breaking up with somebody or patching it up with somebody or quitting a job or, whatever it is, dealing with a loss, a tragedy. Sometimes it can be helpful to alter your state. I don't recommend it. I recommend, altering your state with other healthy things like yoga and water and vegetables, right? Honestly. But my point is that he's convinced that a demon assaulted him in his bed. And I'm convinced that he's just knucking futs. Just batshit cray. That's just me. One of the indicators that leads me to that conclusion is his evil maniacal laugh. And he even does it in this thing when he's talking about the demons and confirming that it definitely was the demons. And then he does that laugh. You guys have seen the laugh, haven't you? Where he's like a hyena going, he does it on stage sometimes at political things. It's just like, how does somebody like that get voted into office and maintain? I mean, he's not a politician. He's a political commentary person. I'd have to look into his resume. I don't know if he's held political offices or not. He's not somebody I've paid a lot of attention to. But man, even the people on Fox News seem to be jumping ship. The whole channel seems to be jumping ship. And one of the commentators that I like, that I never thought I would like because he was such a dirty rat bastard back in his time of getting convicted. And he served his time. He did some dastardly deeds. Is his name Barry Cohen? Is that the guy's name? He's a lawyer and he's got a really thick, like New Jersey accent. I think it's Barry Cohen, isn't it? Let me Google and make sure I'm getting it right. I know the last name is Cohen. No, it's not Barry Cohen. What is his name? I'm glad I looked. You guys know who I'm talking about? Dang it. Michael Cohen. Phew. Thank goodness for Google. Okay. Michael Cohen. Who's Barry? Somebody's named Barry in all these stories. Okay. I'm doing the weave. Okay, now I got to say something about the weave because yeah, am I like the queen of the weave on my channel? Now, how many of you have noticed when the Angry Orange does his weave and he does like that? It's like what you would do back in the 70s when you would say that a woman was built, right? Why does he do that when he's talking about the weave? Same reason why he was pleasuring the podium mic stand, in my humble opinion. That gets me. And I haven't heard anybody bring that up. The weave. It's like, why not the weave? Oh, so while I'm talking about that, let me talk about the other disgusting, perverted thing he does when he does his fist bump. It's not a regular fist bump. It's like what he was doing to the podium before he did the deep throat thing to the podium. So now that that's out, I feel so much better. I don't want to be the one to say these things, but nobody said those things. So here I've got them in the 41st minute of this live stream that nobody will watch, right? Like maybe 200 people at the most, probably 50. But I do appreciate each and every one of my viewers. You guys are the bomb. I've missed you like nobody's business. I was way too busy having a nervous breakdown or staving off a nervous breakdown to come on live. And like I said, the dog is doing really well. And, you know, the kids are doing pretty well. Everybody's doing pretty well. Even been cleaning and taking care of business, you know. It's sort of like when finals come around, that's when you start like, you know, doing the deep cleaning in your dorm room. So yeah, today before noon, I was out blowing leaves. In the last couple of days, I've been vacuuming all the corners of, do you guys vacuum your ceilings and your walls the way I do? I have to, because they get like the webs and the dust in them. And yeah, we've got the broom things too, but sometimes I like to just hit them with the vacuum. So I've been vacuuming the ceilings, vacuuming the walls, blowing the leaves, because there's millions of them, millions and millions. And of course, I'm not exaggerating. And then we had Halloween. That was fun. But I've just been trying to look away from the train wreck of this election, and I have been unsuccessful. So I watch those channels that I shared with you guys, and that I'll put the links to in the descriptions. Really good political commentary from the left, I guess, is how people from the other side would see it. I just see them as being reasonable. I mean, I told you guys, I have had values in my belief system of both Democratic and Republican, and neither. I've been at points where I've thought they're both trash, and I still think that way to some extent. But it's what we have. It's the system that we have. I really feel bad for the Republican Party, what it's turned into. It's like a Frankenstein of its old self. I'm hopeful for the Republican Party that they can restore some actual like morals and values back into their candidates. Or who knows, maybe this will be the start of a third party. Who knows? Or maybe this will be the start of Nazi America, and it's gonna go the way that I fear that it can't. but let me just give you my prediction. How about that? And then I'll go ahead and wrap it up. And again, thank you so much for being here. My prediction, and maybe I'll have to eat my words, I honestly feel like at this point in time that this could be the only election in the history of the United States of America where all 50 states go one way. And it ain't red. So I honestly think that that's a very, I'd say, remote chance of that happening. But I think that that's a good possibility that it could even, that it's even a thing, that it's even a remote possibility. Like that's just not a thing. I think there's only been 2 elections in the history of our country where it was like 95% of the votes all went one way. And I want to say one of those was Lincoln and one of those was Reagan, but I'm not sure. I haven't like studied it hard, but I think that it's something like that. Anyway, the last couple of elections have been really close, like, 50-50 or 47-47 or however it is. It really infuriates me, people who are throwing away their votes. I used to vote third party too, because I thought that there needed to be another party. But this is not the year to be throwing your vote away on third party. Please, I beg of you. If you're thinking of doing that, and somebody that I care about deeply did, and I could kill him for it, but it's a free country. You do what you want to do. But yeah, this is not the year to be messing around with that, please. I mean, there's like 7% of our country that's going to vote for not the Republican or the Democratic ticket. And I don't blame them, but please, if I can just get one of those people to vote Democratic to try to keep our democracy a democracy. I mean, this weirdo has told us exactly what he wants to do, and he showed us exactly what he's made of and exactly what he did do. And the only thing he thinks he did wrong was conceding finally after Brian Sicknick was murdered. Brian Sicknick was the cop who passed away the day after getting beaten at the January 6th insurrection. There were, I think, 132 police officers injured that day. And I think a couple of them took their own lives over the next few days. It was just devastating for law enforcement that was there, that had fought combat in war zones, said this was way worse. This was way worse, having your own people turn on you. Worse than being in the foxhole, being on the front line. Sammy is a liar, in my opinion. Thank you, Sherry. I agree. She was close to Kylie to this date. I sent you an email of an exchange that I had with Sammy on Instagram last week. Interesting. She claims she was close to Kylie to this date. Thank you, Fred. Oh, I'm so glad I saw that. Sorry that I hadn't seen it yet. That was 6 minutes ago. Awesome, you guys. Thanks for your chat. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. So, where was I in the twisted saga of the so Brian Sicknick's brother, Craig Sicknick, has come out to speak publicly and to support Kamala. Brian Sicknick was a Trump supporter, huge Trump supporter in the 2016 election. Not by the end of the term, not for the 2020 election. He had already decided not to vote that way, or he had voted that way, but then he still was a casualty of the insurrection. And his parents have been speaking publicly too. And how sad for the whole family to lose their son. I think he was like 40, and I don't think he'd ever been married. I don't think he had any kids. but the whole family was Republican. The whole family had voted for Trump in 2016. And they probably have been too afraid to come out and speak publicly for fear of retribution from the dark side. But finally, I think because of the threat of the possibility of it happening again, they've come out and spoken publicly, and for that I thank them. And I also want to say, as we wrap up, that and I'll get back to your comments there, Fred and Sherry, that I really feel grateful for all of the ridiculous shenanigans that the Angry Orange and all of his minions, all the stupid crap that they do. It's like, thank you for being so blatantly, obviously evil and stupid. Because if you weren't so blatantly, obviously evil and stupid, it'd be easier for people to get tricked into your trap again. So just like with Scammy, for that we can thank them. You know, Scammy is a liar. She's a good liar. She's well versed at it, but nobody's really a good liar, because if you're good, you're not going to lie. So there's people that are skilled at it, and she's definitely one of them. Sherry, her nose still growing like Pinocchio, completely. No, this will follow her. This ghost will haunt her. I just want to know what happened to Kylie. I want to know where Kylie's remains are, if she's passed. I think Kylie deserves to have the actual truth be known. Mookie, come here, baby. I've got Coco passed out right next to me because she's on medication to keep her calm so she doesn't jump around. Mookie's at the door. Mookie, come here, baby. Oh, she's like, no, I'm not moving. They're just chilling. Coco's totally zonked. Anyway, I'm just delighted to have my little party of 4 of us here. I don't know if Tammy Lynn is still here. And Tammy Lynn, at first I was thinking that you were new, but now I'm thinking I recognize that name. I don't know if you're still here or if you moved on. But thank you so much for being here. In closing and in my prediction of the landslide, hopefully I didn't jinx it by saying it out loud. I just want to say that all the people that voted that way back in the 2016 election, a lot of them, I think, came around enough for Biden to win the 2020 election, and he did win. Yeah, the electoral vote thing is weird, popular vote, electoral vote, but that's our system. That's the way it works. Until you change it, you can't change it for an election and then retroactively change it. You have to change it before the election. So, yeah, I understand the frustration, but that was the same frustration when Trump won, was Hillary Clinton got the popular vote. And I was no fan of Hillary Clinton. I've told you guys that. I really wanted Bernie Sanders. And in all honesty, I wasn't such a fan of Kamala. I have known about her and her failure with Matrice Richardson for years. She failed to have any inquisition on the police department that, to me, so obviously murdered that young woman in a California jail, or right outside of the California jail. What was that, 15 years ago? In Malibu, California. Matrice Richardson, I think she was 23 or 24. Beautiful young Black woman. Her remains were found a year. Hold on. I'm finishing up. I have to be there less than 10 minutes. Okay. Her remains were found a year after. They said she was released from the prison. there was a lot of evidence that there was one officer in particular who was on videotape footage pretty much following her out of the jail when she was released. And she was never seen again from the time that she was on that footage leaving the jail and the one officer following her. She was never seen alive again. And then her remains were found a year later. And then there was no investigation from internally or externally. And Kamala Harris was in charge of that. If she had made a better decision, and maybe she still can, maybe that can still be readdressed, and Matrice Richardson's family can get some justice, and the disgusting person who harmed her can get some justice. Maybe. Just like with that poor young woman with the Fort Hood. You guys help me out here. My brain, I'm trying to wrap it up. You know, the one from Fort Hood. I gotta get my kid to her basketball. Vanessa Guillen. I cannot say her last name. It's not as complicated as I make it. Guillen with a thing over the E. That's what's throwing me off. So Vanessa Guillen, something like that. Like I said, I make it more complicated than it is. We'll just call her Vanessa. So the situation with Vanessa, that was nice that Trump paid attention to her murder and her family's case, but then failed to pay the bill and then said the terrible derogatory statements that he said. And then Vanessa's sister still voted for him and said she didn't believe that he would say that, and it was no big deal that he reneged on the $60,000 funeral bill. I hope that something can be done with that to make it up to the family, because it's terrible. They should still get reimbursed the $60,000. I'm sure they got a ton of money from the Army from wrongful death and all of that. And also very important is that it did change the culture of the covering up and the constant harassment and disappearance of not just young women, but young people. So yeah, like, let's have more of that. Let's have less of the evil, more of the light. I'm going to say peace out so I can get my kid to her practice. Love and light, you guys. Hopefully the next time I see you, we will have an answer to this riddle. Her nose still growing like Pinocchio. Yeah, I'll check out your email, Fred. Sending you guys love and light. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck getting through the day. Hope that it has a good outcome for all of us. Take care.